Hi guys, how you doing? I hope that came off better this time than it did last time, and I hope you heard the sound behind that little intro. Last time I had something wired up wrong and it didn't work. Also tonight, no headphones, little lavalier mic because I might find myself moving around. And thanks to everybody for showing up early. I've been sitting here watching Mel's stream and trying to not keep people waiting too long, and I see people starting to come in to my side, and Mel's still going on, and I said, well, I just didn't want to keep people waiting, so I set a timer for 5 minutes at 8 o'clock, so that at 8:05 I'd be going on, and here I am. So hello, Jody, Drone Shots. Yeah, Jody and I were trying to figure out what happened to Mel a little earlier. He evidently had his stream set to private, and I actually called him on the phone, and if you were watching him, I think you heard my phone call wondering if I had the times all screwed up here. Captain Ray Kelly, how you doing? Hot Tub Captain Ray Kelly, we're gonna call you. And Rodney Buse, how you doing, man? How did you get to be without blue? Let's give you a blue wrench so that you can feel right at home. And Tater too, man. Hey Tater, how you doing? We're gonna have to give you a blue wrench too. And who else we got here? We got Carlos. We got Carlos and Chris Hope. Jerry Calvary. Hey buddy, how you doing? Did you ever get that little airplane flying? Timeless Truths is here. Road Shots. Chris Hope, how you? Steve Carpenter. John F, how you doing? That's while I'm at it. Let me get you a moderator's cape. I guess Mel is done because it seems like I'm getting raided from everybody was over there. Curtis Dart too. Hey Curtis, how you doing, buddy? Let's go ahead and give you a wrench, and so everybody will be blue. And Mel is here. Hi, Mel. I guess you didn't wait, but I sent them all over here. Thanks. Well, Mel, I kept waiting and I figured you were going to end soon, but I started to see there was a bunch of people waiting over on my stream, and I didn't want to keep them waiting too long, so I figured that I would just start mine up and set the timer for 5 minutes, and maybe by then you guys would be done over there. But thank you very much, and I appreciate all the plug-in. Mike Roche Media is here. How you doing, Mike? Timeless Truths, thank you very much. And wow, what a start! This is much better than I usually get at 6 o'clock in the evening on Thursday. So maybe later is better. Welcome to. I'm going to try something different here, and I got a whole different backdrop. And where's the monkey? What happened to the monkey? I had him in there, and now he's not there. Hang on, man. This is important. I got to get the monkey. Well, while I'm getting one monkey in here, let me bring another one in. There he is.
Hey.
Hi, Art. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Talk to the people while I find the monkey here.
All right.
He's probably off being mischievous or something like that.
Hello, everybody in the chat. Saw a bunch of little Mel's and at Art's place this afternoon. Had a really good show today.
Yeah, you did. You had it was. I was there. It was
Right. Yep, saw you there.
Yeah. Your guest was
Congressman
Congressman. Yeah.
McCutter.
Oh, geez. Hold on a second, Art. I've got complaints here.
Oh.
Complaints. Okay. So hang on a minute. Stay there. Don't go anywhere. All right, that's for Bob Casey. Bob Casey missed the big intro.
Hey,
So
Grant and Mike Rose, Bob Casey, Rick Albert, Lloyd, Grant.
Grant, Mr. Stadler, he's white too. We
Yeah,
need to fix him up here. We need to fix him up. So thanks everybody for coming in, and I'm hoping that this little deal catches on, although I have no idea exactly how I want to run the format of it yet. The whole purpose of this stream is to talk the technical side of primarily FPV. I mean, we can talk a little camera drones, but there's a million people out there that know an awful lot about camera drones, but and I guess the same about FPV. But for beginners, I think that's where we're going to be. And look at Art. Art's ready to go. Art, I'll see you a tiny hawk and raise you a tiny hawk.
There you go. So
this is the Tiny Hawk Society.
Mitch,
Rick Halber, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wow.
1/3 of that goes to me. So,
oh, I'm sorry. What?
how many times have you crashed your drone inside your house there when you first got it?
Oh, I mean, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even got it. I told this story. I actually got the thing stuck down in the other room. I was flying with the goggles, and it went and it actually found its way behind the TV hanging on the wall.
Oh boy.
And it took me a half hour to find the stupid thing.
Oh boy.
I was tearing the place up. I was under everything, over everything, and it wasn't making any noise. It wasn't loud enough where I could hear it.
Wow.
And finally, I'm just looking around, and I was walking out of the room, and I looked sideways where I could see like a little bit behind the TV.
Yeah.
And I see the lights.
Yep.
And I could hardly get it out of there. But oh yeah, so I've certainly done my share of crashing.
Doing quite a few crashing with this, and hopefully I'll get good enough and get the Tiny Hawk. I hear the Tiny Hawk will work with this controller and the goggles.
Well, eventually, what's going to happen, Art, is you're gonna get yourself a real radio.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to get yourself a real radio, and more than likely, you're going to get yourself either the Jumper T16,
Right.
which is what I would recommend for the money, at about $150 or $60, or the cheaper one of the Free Sky, either the light, the X Lite that looks like a game controller almost. A lot of guys are using those, but for my money, and I got it back here, I think that this is. And let me go ahead and do one or two things. I mean, Carlos is here, and I know Carlos wants to talk technical stuff, so let's bring Carlos in and welcome Carlos. Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Good evening.
And then with that said, I'm going to make you guys small off to the side here, since I'm going to be talking and showing off stuff and everything, and so I'll be the star. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. This is the Jumper T16.
Right.
And it's different than the Free Sky kind of radios. The Free Sky, if you look,
the X-Lite?
What's that?
I have the X-Lite to show them.
Okay, well, what I wanted to show you guys was the difference in these two radios. If you look at them, let me see how I'm going to do this. Bring it down a little bit. Over. There we go. The difference, yeah, you're seeing right through it's reflecting off the screen, but I can't see. I have to see around it. The difference, if you look, the sticks on this one are closer together, and a little smaller than the humongous sticks and widespread sticks on the Free Sky.
Right.
And this happens to be an almost exact copy of a Futaba radio that's used in RC. And if you look at RC radios in general, and if you just bear with me 1 second here, because I want to show you. I want to show you this.
Hey, Art.
Yeah.
Did you see that shirt that he was wearing? It looked like he took a curtain and made a shirt out of it.
Yeah.
Listen, just because I'm not in front of the screen doesn't mean I can't hear you. But this is a Spectrum RC radio that you use for flying airplanes, and it's a lot more similar in design to the jumper. And for any RC pilot, this jumper I feel right at home with the jumper. I mean, the sticks just feel good. The positions feel good for pinching. The throws on the sticks aren't really too wide. Whereas on that Free Sky one, the sticks are far apart, and to push this stick here all the way over to that side, I have to roll my hand over it. I can't just. That's as far as I can push it with my hand. I can't go the whole way with it. Whereas I found with the jumper, when you have your hand on it, you don't have to be rolling your hand on top. The sticks and the throws and yet they're totally adequate. And I think once I started flying with the jumper T16, I started flying a lot better. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet, but I'll put it back here and display it.
Yeah, this is what came with the EMAX.
Look, Art, that's kind of what I have.
Yeah.
Same style.
Oh, you got the new light, that new light there, huh? Whoops. Didn't mean to get rid of you. I meant to make you big.
No, it's okay. It's not the new one, but it works. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure how good Art's hands work, but your control is way too big for his hands, I think. I think he'd be able to grab this easier.
Well, do you thumb or do you
I hear
pinch?
an echo, by the way.
I'm a thumber.
Somebody's echoing.
You're a thumber.
Yeah.
See,
got an echo.
Who's got an echo?
I don't know. I hear it.
Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, and I got
The thing is muted.
You know, there might be a slight echo coming
want me
because
to
I'm
lean
not
in?
wearing headphones. I've got a small set of speakers here so that I can hear what's going on without having to wear headphones.
That's probably it then. All right, either way.
Anyway,
I also think that it's harder for you to reach because you pinch.
Right.
For Mitch with that radio. This is a thumber radio. More so.
but you can you use that radio and pinch?
Yeah, you could if you wanted to, but they have a strap because pinchers usually have a what do they call lanyard.
Oh, you always wear a neck strap when you fly. If you're a pincher, and it's not a big controversy actually.
No, not at all.
It depends on what you're used to. If you started out life these days as a young kid playing video games with your thumbs, then you're going to be better flying with your thumbs than if you try to change up and start pinching. If you're an old fart like me that's been flying RC all his life, pinching, I can't do it with my thumbs. But to say one method is better than the other is not proven out by the fact that some of the best FPV pilots are thumbers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I used
that
to
evidence.
be a pincher, and then the girls got pissed off.
What do you think, you're a comedian, Art? What do you? Oh, yes. Oh, let me take a look at the chat here and see if I missed anything. Now the whole idea of this thing, and we're going to have to see how it develops. Whether I'm going to try to pick a topic to talk about for a show, in other words, and any ideas that I get might be helpful. But if you guys want to spend a show talking about beta flight, or if you want to talk about flight controllers or
Mitch, apparently they're
goggles.
having trouble understanding us because of the echo.
Oh, really? Is it that bad?
That's what Curtis just wrote.
Yep.
Hang on a second. Well, hold on. Hang on.
There we go. Now
Let's see if this makes it better. Now, does that make it better? Did that make the echo go away?
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Did the
Yeah,
echo?
we
Did
sound-
the echo
yeah,
go away?
better.
That was it.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. All
Uh-huh.
right. Well, if I'm doing this, I may as well just
Yeah. There you
go
go.
over to this microphone. It's probably going to be better.
There you.
How's that,
Oh,
guys?
yeah. It is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is big time studio professional
the thumbs up.
broadcasting stuff. $100 microphone.
Mm,
Oh no, I have a terrible case of bent antenna here.
Go ahead, Art. Touch that one, Art. They have a
Yeah,
film
Art.
for that, right?
I hung it out there for you, Art.
Oh,
Make a
boy.
joke about it.
Oh,
This is
boy.
this is what I was using. It's a Comica, but I figured like when I was doing those live builds, I was moving all over the place, so it was much easier not having to be tied down to a microphone or to a set
Right.
of headphones. But it just doesn't sound doesn't sound it's as good. So we'll do it this way, and you know
right.
what I need to do, like most of the other guys are doing, is get myself a set of wireless earbuds
Yep.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to get this microphone untangled from me here.
This is wireless, sort of. Bluetooth.
Yeah, okay, I see what you got there. Yeah, everybody says much better. Yes, it's bad. Okay, now I'm kicked back in bed. Oh, Lloyd is here. Hey, how you doing, Lloyd? Good to see you. Damn, I am wrapped. I am absolutely, totally, and completely wrapped up in wires here, because the old microphone wires got tangled up in the new headphone wires.
Art, what were you holding up there before? What were you showing us? A little whoop? Was that the
Oh
tiny
yeah,
hawk?
that was my EMAX. Oops, EMAX Easy Pilot.
What,
And-
an Easy Pilot?
Yes, and this is
Okay.
similar to Tiny Hawk, but
Oh, wow.
so I thought I'd get this to kind of dip my
Get a
toe
feel.
into FPV, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ordered some more batteries and a charger for it.
How about goggles? Googles.
Yeah, I got the goggles. They're out in the
Okay,
living
good.
room. That came with it.
Can you
It's
use them?
huh?
Do the goggles work for you?
I haven't tried it yet. I wanted to try it without the goggles
Line of sight.
first to kind of get feel for the control, and I think with the goggles I might have a little bit better control in it, because
Mhm.
not like looking all around. I could just look at it and it'd be kind of like driving.
Yes.
You just get
Have you tried the goggles yet to see if
not,
they
not
work?
yet. I
You haven't
will.
even turned them on, huh?
Oh well, I turned them on once just to see how to plug this guy in, and it's got a little pouch on the back of the goggles for the
Did you get a
battery.
picture? Did you get a picture in the goggles
Yeah,
from the camera in the drone?
Yeah.
Okay, so it does work. And did you
Yeah.
have any problem tuning it to the right frequency or right channel?
I think it automatically does that. It's one of those push the button and we're good
Ready to
go.
fly. It's
Yeah,
probably preset already. You just have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Okay. Because you know that when on most of the FPV stuff, you have to pick your channel,
right.
and there's 8 channels on a number of different bands, 5 or
Yeah.
6 different bands, depending on which
Right.
Yeah.
setup
Probably if I
that you
get
have.
the free sky, I'll probably have to do all that stuff with this, and
Now, in the instructions, I'm not familiar with that little drone, but because it does not have, does it have a bindable receiver? Do you know that?
Oh.
In other words, could he bind?
I know
Could
what
he bind
it's
that?
already, it's
No, but
already,
could you bind it with?
done.
Could you bind it with a different transmitter?
You know what? You might be able to. I know that you can do it with the Tiny Hawk ready to fly. I'm not sure with that one.
Well, but
Well,
the Tiny
with that
Hawk has
one-
got a Free Sky D8.
No, I know,
Receiver
but that
built
also
onto
comes
it.
with the same remote that Art is holding. And then
Oh,
once
does it?
you,
Oh, okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then once you get rid of that, then you can now do it with the like your-
Rebind it.
your,
Okay.
right.
I'm sure in the instructions it tells you
Kelly
that. But that's what.
Shores did a video on this, and he was using Free Sky to fly this around, and he also flew around with this as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a nice start to get into it, and if I like it, I'll keep pursuing it, and I'll get a tiny hawk, and then maybe later get into a little bit bigger quads. I
I
really
think
like
you should go with the tiny hawk for a good while before you even think about going
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, that's probably
And
what
before you even get a tiny hawk, there's 3 of them now. So talk to Mitch or myself.
Right.
Before
Yeah.
you do that.
What is that noise I hear
I don't
banging and
know.
slapping? Is
Probably
that
I
you,
was
Carlos?
moved for a quick second. I was touching something, moving
Okay.
stuff around.
Yeah, he
Oh,
dropped
okay.
his vape pen.
Done. I'm done.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
okay.
he
Well,
is.
didn't know if I had to, like
No,
mute you or
you're good.
something. Okay. So here's what I'm looking at accomplishing here. I
Right.
want to have people who would like to get into FPV, who are interested and just don't know where to begin or don't know what to buy or don't know how to set it up, and somehow
Right.
let me know what your questions might be. If and I don't know everything, but I do know something,
Okay.
and if I can help, I'll be happy to help. And I'd like my email address is in the description. It's oldguyinadrone@gmail.com. And if you think up something during the week, just send me an email, a suggestion of something you might want to see. In other words, how do I solder motors onto a flight controller, or how do I go into beta flight? And I know you had a
Right.
question last week on Thursday, Carlos, didn't you, about setting up the
Oh, yeah,
VTX power? Yeah.
Right. The power on the arm and disarm.
Yeah, on the arm and disarm,
Right.
and that's the kind of thing that I want to talk about and show. I don't want this to be like the Thursday night show where we just have a panel of guys talking about
Right.
stuff. I want to try to keep it to technical things, and
Peter
how
has a good question there. That's a good
okay.
start. That's a good start because there's so much involved. Like what Art has is
Okay, what parts do you need to buy? Okay, I have, and I'll give you guys this disclaimer right now. I have an affiliate account with Amazon. Anything I buy and use, I've compiled a list of what all that stuff is. If you do click on any of those links, I'll make 3 cents, 4 cents, 10 cents. I'm stupid, ridiculous thing, but it does add up a little bit. And over this past year, I've made not any significant money, but it is money
Curtis.
nonetheless. It buys some coffee. So
Curtis Dart says beta flight is his weak point.
okay, beta flight is not bad once you, like anything else, once you actually understand what it's doing
Oh,
and
shoot.
how it works.
That's right.
It's not that bad. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want to make it. So let's do that tonight. Let's start out tonight and answer Carlos's question.
Right.
And I'm going to do that with this little drone here. Okay. So what I want to do is I have my camera set up over here so that I can go to this side table here. And I'm going to take this little drone and bear with me, guys, if this isn't as slick as can be. But all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, and the sound is going to come and go as I wander around in front of this microphone, but I'll try to keep it where I am. And yours doesn't have this, Art, but on the Tiny Hawk right here is a USB plug.
Oh, okay.
And if you take a micro USB plug and stick it into the drone, it'll power up, and your computer will tell you that you have a connection. Okay, so then we're going to go over here to beta flight, and up here, right up at this point here, it
Right.
says COM 6. Now, if this hadn't found that little drone plugged in, this wouldn't say anything up here, but it has discovered a COM port. So you have two buttons. One says update firmware, the other says connect. So let's connect to this. Okay, at this point I'm actually connected to the little drone. And if I move the drone around, the little drone on the screen moves. And that's the first thing that you want to do when you first connect a drone to Betaflight. And when Mel and I were setting up his drone, it's the one thing that I forgot to do because you just assume it's always right. But you have to take the drone and point the nose up in the air. And make sure the nose on that drone goes up in the air. Because if the nose on that drone doesn't go up in the air and does something else, it means that your flight controller board is not set to the right angle where it knows where front is. Okay, and there's settings. You can mount a flight controller board in a drone upside down, pointing sideways, backwards, but then you have to go into a setting and tell it to adjust the thing 180 degrees, 270 degrees clockwise, flip it over, do all that. Right. And the way to tell if it's right is you take the little drone, you point the nose up, point the nose down. Tilt it to the left, tilt it to the right.
Betaflight is free, just for the record, somebody asked.
Betaflight, all Betaflight stuff, and iNav for that matter, is all open source. It's all done by developers and guys that do it for nothing. They do it for the love of the hobby. And it's amazing the amount of work that's put in and the amount of improvements that they make. And the number of updates that you think DJI comes out with a lot of firmware updates. The good news about the Betaflight is, if you've got a quad and you've got an older version of Betaflight on it and it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Especially if you're not a competition flyer trying to tune these things to the nth degree and you just want to fly around. Okay, so here we have Betaflight, and when you open Betaflight and connect, you come to this first page. It's called the setup page, and there's a button here, right here. It says calibrate accelerometer. So if you're the kind of a person that wants to fly around in a stabilized or angle mode, where you want the drone to self-level, it's very important that the accelerometer be calibrated. And I came up with a method to calibrate accelerometers. I made a little video about it, and it's very simple. I just took a drinking cup like this, okay, and then I took a level and I leveled it, made sure, and put maybe little shims of paper underneath. Once I got the drink cup perfectly level, I took the little drone and set it up on top there.
Mitch?
Or a big drone. Yes.
Question. Are all flight controllers compatible with Betaflight, or do you have to buy one from a list? There's iFlight and iNav, but
the number of there are some rare and obscure flight controllers, but I've only run across one of them. Anyway, let me finish what I was saying. Anyway, okay. you level this out. You just set it on there. You know it's level. You go back to you go back to this, and you click the button, and the little drone will level itself out. And that's all you need to do is do that once. Now, as far as flight controllers being compatible with Betaflight, yes, anything you're likely to run into will. Now, when Brent sent me that 7-inch quad that I built, it had a Flight 1 controller in it, which has its own software, and it was designed as a different fork of clean flight, and that's the way that's just as a little aside here. That's how all of this open source software works. Once upon a time, there was a flight controller software called Clean Flight, and it had a following. And then a bunch of guys got together and decided that they liked Clean Flight, but they wanted to add a whole bunch of stuff to it. So they created what they call a fork, which is an offshoot, and they created Betaflight. another group of guys got together and said, you know, we like clean flight, but we wish that our flight controllers could do more navigation kind of things. We want them to be able to land themselves and follow waypoints and maps and be tightly integrated with the GPS. So they formed a fork called iNav. So you have now Betaflight and iNav are the two largest operating systems for flight controllers, and most flight controllers will run both of them. And the developers for iNav and the developers for Betaflight have make what they call targets for all of these different controllers. So if you have a flight controller, for example, and you want to know if is my flight controller compatible with either Betaflight or iNav, you just Google Betaflight, and one of the first things up will be what's called the Betaflight Wiki. And in that Betaflight Wiki is virtually everything you could ever want to know about how to work the software, what all the settings mean. It's like an encyclopedia of information. Or if you already have a flight controller and you've plugged it into, and you have Betaflight here, there's a button that says update the firmware. Well, I can, first of all, if I can connect to Betaflight, I can look right up here in the corner, and it tells me what target I have. Each flight controller has to have its own individual target firmware. If you, for example, tried to load a Mavic Air firmware onto a Phantom 4, it wouldn't work. Every time DJI does a firmware update, they have to create a specific target for each hardware configuration. And the reason for that is in all these different flight controllers have different architectures and different pins and mappings on the board connect to different pins on the processor chips. And so each individual target has to be made, and there are a ton of them. So you can look right up here on your Betaflight, and it'll tell you target says Maytech F411, okay? Firmware version 3.5.7. So what I know by reading that is that my little Tiny Hawk has a Maytech 411 controller, and right now it's on version 3.5.7 of Betaflight. Now, 3.5.7 of Betaflight was the last and most finished version before they went to 4.0 of the whole 3 series of firmware. And a lot of guys, since they made a lot of different changes in 4.0 and 4.1, still would rather use the 3.5.7. In fact, I have some 5-inch quads that fly, I think, smoother on 3.5.7 than with 4.0, and it may be I just don't know enough to
Mitch,
fine tune them that well.
You don't have to worry about your VTX heating up, right? On the Tiny Hawk, since it's plugged in.
Yeah, I don't think it's been. You don't hear about it being
It's
a
only
problem.
25 milliwatts.
Yeah. Anyway, so let me get back to this and finish this thought. You can go into, well, first of all, when you get into the Betaflight configurator here, there's a little switch up here that says enable expert mode. And if I enable the expert mode, you notice I get a lot more choices down the side. And some of these choices that I get down the side are important. Things like GPS, fail-safe, things like that I'm going to want. So if you ever go over there and you don't happen to see the tab you're looking for, chances are it's because you haven't enabled the expert mode. Now, you had asked me a question about the CLI last week, and that's the bottommost entry down here. Now, CLI means command line interface, which is kind of like when you open a command window on Windows and you get to type in commands and hit enter and it does things. When you click the CLI, you get a Unix looking #sign prompt, and down here underneath the screen behind where it says old guy, unfortunately, which I have to figure out how to get rid. I know I can get rid of that, but I'll leave it there for now. You have a place where you can type. Here, let me do it this way. Right here,
Right.
you can
Oh.
type. You can type version and hit enter. And it tells me Betaflight / Maytech F411 MK41 3.5.7 March 15th, 2019. That is what's called the target. So when you hear somebody talking about a Betaflight target, they're talking about a version of Betaflight specifically built and compiled for a specific flight controller. And the flight... Oh, Mel says, Ryan, don't forget to remind everyone before you hook up your quad, remove the propellers. Yeah. Now that's not something you need to do with a little whoop that has a shield. But if you're screwing around with one of these puppies, chances are the motors are not going to run when it's plugged into just a USB port, because there's just not enough current available to hurt anybody. But you ever hook a battery up to that thing, there's two things you can do. You should always remove the propellers, but you can use a smoke stopper, and we'll talk about that another time. And what a smoke stopper will do is severely limit the amount of current that can be drawn. And the minute the motors start to draw any kind of significant current, the voltage will get drawn down so bad that they won't run. So that's a good safety feature. And thanks Joshua Bardwell for that little tidbit. Back to this. This says Maytech 411. So I know that if I ever want to upgrade the firmware on my little Tiny Hawk, I would need to go into I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to say update firmware. And the first thing it's going to tell me up here is what kind of flight controller in this first box up here. Okay. And it says Kakute F7. So don't think that this is smart enough to read your flight controller, because right now it's not connected to your flight controller. Your flight controller may be plugged into the computer, but Betaflight is not connected to it. The reason this says Kakute F7 is because the last thing that I happened to upgrade on this computer was a Kakute F7 flight controller. So it remembered the last one. So I know that this is a Maytech 411. So I open the list, and this will show you how many builds there are. You look at this.
Wow.
And I'll go here and I would find Maytech 411, and there's Maytech 411 MTKS, which is something to do with Betaflight 4, Maytech F411 Legacy, SERX. What was the one? I don't even remember now. Let me find out what it was. It was a
I think we just said Matrix
It was an F411.
411.
Okay, F411. So let's see if we have a Maytech F411. I'm going to go Legacy because I'm running 3.5. Anyway, if I do that, then here's all the different versions from 4.1, 4.10, 4.06, 05, 04. There's 357, which is the top of the threes, which is what I'm running now. So this shows you that there are just a slew of different flight controllers, and there's a slew of different versions of the build of the target for each of these different flight controllers. Whether you want to update your flight controller or not, especially if you just bought a drone and you're just getting into this, stick with what it's got on it. It flies. And trying to fool with this kind of stuff, unless you really are trying to accomplish a specific goal, make something work better, or what I found myself doing is going from Betaflight to iNav. Of course, then you have to flash the new software on the board. But here's something I learned about Betaflight, which is something that's very, very good to know, and it makes it helps you understand a little more about how these things work. Every build or target of Betaflight for every controller comes with what the developers think are a good default bunch of settings of virtually everything.
Right.
And they're built into Betaflight. You've heard of PIDs, tuning, rates, filters, all the things that make the quad fly smooth. Well, every new build of Betaflight comes with what the developers thought are the best, call it a starting point or whatever, but a workable set of defaults that where your quad will fly. Okay? When you go into the CLI here and you type the word dump and hit enter, this is what you get. See that?
That's
all
the
of that
controller information, right?
All of that are all of the settings of that particular build of Betaflight that the developers put on there, and all of the changes that I've made to those settings since I stuck my dirty little paws in there and, said, well, I don't like this, I want to change this or that. Okay.
Mitch, that includes that. Does that include the switches and all that, or right?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Or lack thereof.
Right. Right.
So if you were to actually go through and read these things, you'll see that they're in groups. These are all for the LEDs. These are for color. These are still all for the color. These are for auxiliary switches, range adjustments, VTX, all kinds of things. Now, there's another command that you can type in, and it's called diff, D-I-F-F, for different. And if I type D-I-F-F and the word all, okay, and hit enter, I get only those settings that are not the defaults that this version of Betaflight came with. And this is very handy to know.
Does that mean?
So in other words, this says all of this stuff here that's on here, all of this stuff, and it's not nearly as much as the other thing. Well, I'm back into the other one. But I only have a few things here that I've changed. So what diff all shows you in the CLI is these are the things that I've changed that are not defaults. Now, I can type a command in here and revert everything back to the defaults if I wanted. Okay. Or I can take these settings and save them to a file, a text file. And then I can upgrade my Betaflight for, and this diff all has all of the OSD stuff I set up. It has all my switch settings that I set up. It has any changes in the rates and PIDs that I may have made. It's everything that isn't default. Do you guys understand that? It's everything that isn't the default. That also means that if I save all that stuff into a text file and I were to reflash my flight controller again with a version of Betaflight, all the settings will be returned to default. You understand that? But then by taking that text file that I saved and pasting it into the command line and hitting enter, it will reset all of those things in my new version of the firmware.
So you just told us how to put it back is by pasting it in the command and then enter.
Right. You take whatever was saved in a diff all.
I just learned that.
And you paste it into the command line, hit enter, and then you have to type the word save. If you don't type the word save after you enter commands into the CLI, they won't be saved when you exit. But this works, but it's not an absolute either. Okay, and the reason it's not an absolute is because as they change from versions of Betaflight, especially the major changes from the 3 series to the 4 series, they may have changed some command names. They may have changed a few things. So you have to be very careful about what you paste back in, because their filter philosophies are different in the newer versions. But as a rule of thumb, this I hope this helps you understand a little bit about what you see with that CLI and how the software relates to the different flight controllers. So with DJI and Mavics, it's very simple. It's all automatic. You plug your thing in. It says, there's an update for your controller. Press here to do it. You press here and it does it.
Right.
FPV is not simple like that. The good news is I'm still running 357 on my Tiny Hawk. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
And I don't see any reason to update it to 4.1 because it flies great. When I build a new quad now, I'll flash the latest version of the firmware on it. When I build a new flying wing, I'll flash the latest version of iNav so I can get all the new features. But if I've got something that's flying and I'm happy with it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, Mitch.
Yeah.
A question from way back. Tater asked is, can he download somebody else's tunes and put it on his?
Somebody else's what?
PID tunes. I think you can, right? And then paste it?
You can.
But I told him it's not necessarily advantageous because every quad is different. But he's looking.
Well, not necessarily. You got to make sure that it's see the PID tune numbers. You got proportional, integral, and derivative. That's PID for each of the different axes. So you've got one for yaw, you got one for roll, and you got one for pitch. And those are numbers. Okay, they're not processor specific. Art's demonstrating for us.
Right.
So yeah, if you've got a Nazgul, an iFlight Nazgul quad, and somebody says, these are the PIDs that I fly on my iFlight Nazgul, yeah, you could put them in. Whether I'd want to paste, I don't know if I'd want to paste them into the CLI. I think I'd rather just go in to where it says PIDs here and PID tuning and PIDs, and just change the numbers. See these numbers right here, 46, 50, 65. Be easier just to change those numbers than it would be fooling with the same. Because here you've got proportional, integral, derivative, and feed forward for each of the 3 different axes. And it's much easier to save them that way. That your rates, which is the sensitivity, your sticks, your expo, and all that, are done on the rate tab.
Right.
And filters, that's a whole nother thing. But I don't want to get too deep into Betaflight tonight.
Mitch,
but this
quick
is
question from
yes.
RC Fun Diversion just joined us. He goes, hello everyone. He goes, question for old man. My camera footage has too much jitter on my Tyro 129. What do you think it is? I mean, the FPV cam is fine.
So what you're saying is that you have a high def camera on there?
That's what I'm thinking.
He says the FPV camera is fine, but you've got
GoPro on top.
Yeah, if you got a GoPro or a run cam.
So then jitter means it's shaking. Could be prop wash or something.
Could be shaking. It could be electrical interference.
Mounted
the mounted cam, 1080p Polaroid. Never heard of that. What is that?
I guess it's something like a.
Oh yeah, it looks kind of like a the GoPro. The Cube GoPro kind of looks like that.
Oh, it's God, it's so hard to Polaroid. Oh, Polaroid Cube.
Yeah.
God, I'm not familiar with that camera, but I know that if you have a camera, it could be
Shake.
electrical interference from the motors. It
or
depends on the pattern
not-
of what you see. It could be props out of vibration, props vibrating. It could be too loose of a mount. It
Yeah.
could be all kinds of things. The Ed says that he would suspect the mount, and I would
Yeah.
I would too. Keep in mind that the bigger a quad gets, the harder it is to shoot smooth video with it. The 7-inch quads are much harder to make smooth than a
Right.
3-inch quad because
Really?
there's more mass, more vibration, and I noticed that about my 7 inches is that my little 3-inch seems to shoot the smoothest video. So you have to make sure when you're that concerned about the video, the fact that your FPV feed is smooth leads me to believe that it's a mounting problem. And what I do, for example, here's one of my Tyro. Hang on a second here. Let me make me big. Button is the button. There it is. Here's my, and it's got the GoPro mount right here. And I that's really strapped down tight, and I have a strap. See the strap? Is this the best way to see this? Maybe over here be better.
Oh,
There it is.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
this strap, I just take the strap, slide the camera in, and then put the strap back up top, and that seems to do pretty good. And this is it's so hard to know which way is which. This is the Tyro. This is the Tyro 129 here, and
Right.
in fact, this is the Tyro 129 that I put iNav in. That's why the big, tall GPS on a post, because it's got a compass. It's got a magnetometer in it, and that magnetometer, the further away from the motors, the better. But everything that came with that Tyro 129 kit, except for the fact that I needed to get a magnetometer, was there. So I put iNav on it. And it's an amazing thing to see, but I hit a switch on this quad, it returns home and lands itself, just like a Mavic, which is we call that a all shit switch,
Yeah.
because that's what it is. When you're flying a quad like that, especially one with analog video.
Right.
You watch a lot of these guys flying these things with analog video, and you'll hear them yell, "I'm blind." Okay, I don't know if you ever heard that or not, but I've heard it quite often. "I'm blind." That means that whatever they were seeing in their goggles is not there anymore, either because they flew out of range,
Oh, yeah.
or somebody turned on another quad on the same frequency as theirs,
Yeah.
and knocked them out. But you're flying a quad,
It's terrible.
and all of a sudden you're blind. The thing that you're supposed to do is disarm it and let it fall from the sky, right wherever it is, because anything other than that would be
Black.
wildly more unsafe. However, with iNav on a quad, you flick the oh shit switch.
Yeah.
The quad levels out, climbs to a certain altitude, turns around, flies home, and comes straight down and lands right where it took off.
Yeah.
Which do you think is better? Now,
Yeah.
that's why I'm moving, if I can. I'm moving my quads if I build new ones, they're all going to be iNav, and because the newer versions of iNav have so much of what the new versions of Betaflight have as far as filtering and capability, with the addition of all the neat GPS stuff. And it's all free. So iNav doesn't cost any more than Betaflight costs. And the only caveats to fly iNav on a quad is your flight controller has to have a barometer to sense altitude.
Right.
And you need to have a magnetometer. And most of the flight controllers don't have barometers until you get to the more expensive ones.
Right.
But the cheap-ass flight controller that comes with that $129 Tyro 129 has a barometer on it. Believe it or not, I couldn't believe it. And when you take, for example, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take. I'm going to plug the. The Tyro 129 into the computer. I'm going to bring up iNav, which looks just like Betaflight, but it's a whole different configurator. It just takes a while to load. There it comes. Okay, so that, see, it looks like Betaflight, doesn't it? But it's blue instead of yellow. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I connect to it. I was going to show you how it picked up all this other stuff, but I'd have to hook the battery to it, and I don't want to do that because the props are on. So, but up here at the top, it shows you what sensors you have: gyro, accelerometer, magnetometer, barometer, and GPS. And when I plug the battery into this thing, every one of those sensors lights up blue and tells me all that stuff is connected. And I have that switch on my transmitter that I have a number of switches on the transmitter set up. I can flick a switch that actually, where am I?
Uh-oh.
What happened? Did my camera freeze up?
Ooh.
Oh no. You know what I did, don't you?
What did you do?
Hi guys. Yeah, by plugging, that's probably why I couldn't find the sensors. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Okay, you guys bear with me a second. It's all going to go away.
Timeless truth.
But you're going to be there. You're going to be there. But all that's going to go away, and I'm going to restart my OBS. And there I am. Lovely shade of
Smurf.
a lovely shade
A
of
Smurf.
blue.
Papa
A
Smurf.
Smurf.
I need to get
So
a drink.
what-
Please. I'll be right back.
Okay, so I need to do this. Yeah, boy, that just screwed up. That just totally screwed up my. That's a problem when you start plugging in.
There
you
you
start-
go.
Yeah, when you start plugging in USB ports, when you got all this other stuff plugged in, sometimes strange things happen.
Yep.
So there I am. I'm back. Okay, not too bad.
Mitch, I gotta get
Yeah.
going. I gotta get ready for bed. So thanks.
Well, thanks for coming in, and I don't know how long we're going to go on this thing here. I'm just kind of feeling my way out tonight
Right.
about how I want to do this.
Yep.
I think
Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
I hope somebody learned a little something tonight, but
I didn't learn.
I don't know if
didn't-
I did want to show you how
Yeah.
answer your question, at least, Carlos.
Please.
So I know I can plug my Tiny Hawk in without blowing up my computer. So let me do that. Let me plug that in.
All right. Well, take care, guys.
All right, Art. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Brother
All
Art.
right.
Good to see
Bye-bye.
you. Good to see you. All right, so let's go back over here to Betaflight again. All right, so let's go back to Betaflight and put me in the picture here. Am I in the picture?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let's connect to the drone. And let's go down here into the CLI and type this command: get VTX. Okay. Now, the get command, remember when I type dump, it displayed pages and pages and pages of information. If I say get and then type something, it finds any occurrence of that and displays only those commands. So any command that has VTX in it will be displayed when you type get VTX. And let's take a look and see what it says I have here. It says OSD VTX channel position equals 2417. Okay, that's the command that tells on your goggles display where on the display. You know, it's when you drag. Remember when you set the OSD up, you drag the little things around and put them where you want them. So that's not something we need to worry about.
Right.
Allowed range, we don't need to worry about that. Default value, we don't need to worry about that. VTX band equals 4.
Channel 4.
Right. No, band.
Band 4. Band.
That's Fat Shark, F.
Right.
Okay, that's the Fat Shark band. So that's useless if you don't have smart audio, isn't it? If your flight controller can't tell your video transmitter how to change the channel or power settings, then any settings that Betaflight might have are useless. But if you have smart audio and the little Tiny Hawk does, then by stick movements or automated things, you can actually tell your video transmitter to change its power settings, which is very handy, and that's what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is a VTX that has multiple power settings. But when you're not flying, because these things generate heat, you don't want these things putting out their maximum power. You want these things putting out the minimum power. But when you arm them to start the motors and go fly, you don't want to have to manually go in there and then tell it to up the transmitter power. You want to be able to do that automatic. You want to do it automatically, and conversely, when you land and disarm the quad, you want the video power to go back to the low power setting. Okay, so you have these VTX band and VTX channel. So I'm flying on Fat Shark 3, and that's what this means, okay? VTX power equals 1. Now, on my little thing, I only have one power setting. That's 25 milliwatts. But if you had 200 milliwatts, that would probably be 2, unless you had 25, 100, 200, or whatever. Yeah, and in which case it'd be 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
VTX, here's the one you're looking at. VTX low power disarm equals off. It says here.
Equals off.
Off.
Okay.
Now, what you want that to say is VTX low power disarm equals on.
Equals
So
on?
on, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So after you went ahead, Carlos, and said get VTX, okay, and you found that command. Now, in your case, your VTX power would probably say 2 or 3, because, you know, that should say the power you want it to be when you're flying.
Oh, okay. So this is flying.
Yeah. So you would set VTX power equals 2 or 3 or whatever is appropriate, okay, for your VTX. And then you find the one. So now you can set that through in your goggles if you know how to get to the smart audio page. You can also set it in Betaflight. Or you can set it with a CLI command. You could go right into the CLI and type set VTX power equals 2, enter, and then save and then enter. Okay, you could do it that way.
But this is all once it's armed and flying. These commands I'm looking at.
These
right
commands
now.
are where you want that to be when it's armed and flying. So then, in order to make a change here, what you would do is you would highlight VTX disarm equals off. See that? I want to show you. See where I highlighted it. I would copy it, Control C. I would stick my mouse down in the text box. I would type the word set space. I would hit Control V and paste the command I just copied from up here, so I don't have to type all that again. See? Set VTX low power disarm equals off, and I would change the off to on. Okay? and hit enter. And then I would type the word save. And then to make sure that the change,
enter and
then enter, and you'd hit enter. And then if I hit enter, for example, right now.
Oh, okay. All right, I understand. Then
it says
on the bottom,
set
right.
VTX low power disarm equals on, and then it comes and says VTX low power disarm set to on. Now I would have to say save in order to make that command
On the
permanent.
bottom right, you're saying. I gotcha. Yeah.
No, you just type the word save in.
Oh, you tape it. You don't do it on the bottom
Yeah,
right.
no, that's save to file. That just saves all this stuff to a file. You have to.
Oh,
you're in a command. Yeah, you're in a command line interface here, and you need to type the word save, enter, and it'll reboot.
Right. Okay.
It'll reboot. Now, after it reboots, go back into the CLI tab, type get VTX, and make sure that it now says what you want it. So now what'll happen, if your smart audio is working, which you know it is because you can go and get to it and see it in your goggles, it's just the coolest thing. Quad is disarmed. You'll see your video picture flicker as the VTX changes power settings.
Right. No,
and it'll say it'll be on low power. And then the minute you arm it to go fly, bingo, it's going to jump up to high power.
I might have to ask you. Well, I can always go back to this video and check it out also.
But that's what you need. You need the command is. You don't even need to remember the command, because when you type the words get VTX, it's only going to list 6 or 7 commands, and this is going to be one of them. You'll recognize all those different commands. For example, if I type in here get OSD, all of these commands that it showed me are relating to the setup of the OSD. Okay, so if I wanted to transfer, for example, if I had let's say I had 2 different quads, analog quads, and I had the OSD set up just perfectly on this one, and I wanted to have the exact same OSD setup on the other one. Well, I would go into Betaflight, I would say get OSD, I would copy all that stuff, paste it in a text file, switch quads, go into the CLI, take all that stuff I just copied out of one, paste it into the CLI of the other, and hit enter and save. Now the OSD in my second quad is going to be running under exactly the same commands as the OSD in my first quad. There's all kinds of neat things that you can do.
Mitch, you just got a $10 super chat from Metro Drone.
I see that. Hey, Bill, thank you very much. Thank you so much, my friend. But that's the kind of stuff.
That's
Carlos,
what I did, just so you know, with my my Tiny Hawk. I basically copied model, and I didn't have to do any of the switches again and any of that stuff.
Yeah, but that was on the radio.
No, I'm just saying, but that on the radio, but you can also do it through Betaflight, no?
No, you
no,
have to.
Right, it's through the radio.
Yeah, you were just setting up the switch settings of the radio that way.
But it makes life
nothing
easier not to do it again.
Yeah, Betaflight, if you can copy the aux variables,
right,
and paste them from one model to another,
right,
and that will totally duplicate all the switch settings and all the sliders and all that other stuff. Now, Betaflight is complicated, guys, and yet once you start to understand some of the basic ways it works, especially anybody that has a computer or programming background, it becomes very easily understandable and manipulatable, and you can do all kinds of things. And I figured this stuff out. I'm not saying I'm a stone expert at it, but I do know enough to help people who might be struggling. And if I can't help, I'll always say I'm sorry. That's above my pay grade. But
come back
stuff like this is what I want to do on this Sunday live stream. So I hope it works. I hope it works out. Got a nice crowd here tonight. Of course, everybody's starting to go to bed now. I think Sunday night. Let me take a second and catch up with the chat. Have I said hello to everybody? I think so.
Well, Ed joined us. John joined us. Metro Drones. Those are the last 3 that I saw.
Yeah, Ed says Betaflight seems daunting at first. It it is, and it can be. There's a lot to it, and you don't need to get down into the dungeon of it for most things, but there are
You have to
times
do-
when you really have to put some deep thought into. For example, when I got this flight controller that was designed to for that source flight one rather, and the flight one stuff just wouldn't work. I loaded it on there. I set the quad up. It just wouldn't fly. The motors were making all kinds of strange noises. The software basically was 2 years old, a year old. It was not supported real well. It was a project at the time which sounded like a great idea, but it didn't work out. But in the meantime, the beta flight devs had come up with a target for this particular flight controller. But that target required you to do a little virtual rewiring, let's say, to make it work. And I managed to work my way through that. I had to remap motors and do all kinds of strange things, but it does work. It does work great, but it wasn't something that was. It took me a full day to accomplish it. Researching, and even guys like Joshua Bardwell didn't know, because it was something they hadn't dealt with. And so much of this stuff is so obscure that there aren't a lot of people that have dealt with some of these obscure problems. And I almost gave up and just put a different flight controller in the thing, but nah, I'm stubborn.
Mitch, have you
Rick
ever-
Albers said, "Thanks. It's going to be a fine stream." Thank you. I appreciate that, Rick. And
have you heard of these new flight controllers that are called SPI, supposedly? No?
yeah, a little bit. A
Okay.
little bit.
Here's a question for you with this data flight. Can all flight controllers be bound or, bind with the CLI, or it's only special ones or certain ones?
I'm not following the question.
Can you bind the radio to the quad using a CLI command on all
Oh,
quads, or only certain
I know
ones?
what you're talking about, but I've tried that a few times. I've just never had any luck with it.
Really?
You talking about typing
Yeah.
a CLI command to throw
Bind.
the receiver into bind mode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use the.
RX. Bind
Yeah, I
them-
know, but I've never gotten it to work. Probably because I use
Wow.
the R9M. I'm not using the XM Plus receivers, and the receivers have to be hooked up properly in the first place.
I'm talking about
But
even
that's just. Yeah, I tried it once or twice, and it just for some reason either the receiver wasn't hooked up right or it
Tiny
was
Hawk.
something.
That's the way I did the Tiny Hawk S. And the,
Yeah, I think you can in the Tiny Hawk, but with me with my Tiny Hawk, I actually
I don't
found
think that one does it. The original.
this one was the bind button is just right under there,
Right.
and it was real easy to find, so
Well, here's
I
the other
didn't bother.
thing that they're doing with these is that you don't have to hold the button down and do the battery. You can do the battery and then hold the button down.
That's
That's
different
the new way.
receivers, but there's Free Sky's got this new, what is it, ACCST protocol, which is that a lot of guys are rebelling against. I've avoided it, so I know nothing about it. But all of the receivers that I have, you have to hold the button down while you power it.
Right. That's
Yeah,
I hate
yeah, and it's not that bad.
As long as
Especially
you put the receiver and you do it prior to installing it in the quad and stuff, right?
usually, but then I went ahead and got this new Jumper T16 radio and had to rebind every friggin' receiver that I have. So there was 3 or 4
okay.
quads. I had to take them apart
And
to,
put the
to
button
get
down,
it.
right?
Yeah, to
That's
get to
okay.
that button again. And that's when I tried to use the CLI command and couldn't make it work.
Gotcha.
So I just gave up on that and figured maybe that's not compatible with the receivers.
That's what I'm
that
wondering.
I
If
have now.
it's all or some. I don't know. I guess I'll look into
Yeah. So guys, Jerry, Mel, I'm hoping down the road that some of you guys will come on here so that Carlos has to be the only one sitting there asking me questions. Jerry, it'd be fun to work on your little airplane on the stream here. We could see if we get that thing working. What else did I miss here tonight?
We were talking about controls, stick controls with, I think, what was it? Go up and turn right or turn left, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Control, stick controls. I think that's
That doesn't-
that's maybe the next step is trying to get people even just to get an FPV quad in their hands. To then,
Well, look, it's a matter of settling in on the equipment like Rick just said, there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and you need to be open-minded. And I agree, but there's three basic components to being able to fly FPV. You need
the quad, the controller.
you need an aircraft, you need a controller, and you need goggles. Each one of those things by itself can be a task to try to figure out what's best. Now I started recognize these, huh?
Yes, sir. We'll use them.
This is what I started with. They're the Viper FXTs. And what they are is basically a panel and a screen, a receiver with two antennas that fit into this thing with mirrors and a battery slung on the back here. And you put this on your head, and these are box goggles. And the reason that I got these, and a lot of guys get them, is you can wear glasses in them. So many of us have to wear glasses. And the Fat Shark style of goggles, which are much smaller and much closer to your eyes, you can't fit over your glasses. And if you do need glasses, you have to have special, they call diopters, made to fit in to holders inside. And if you have really strange prescriptions with all kinds of prism and anti-stigmatism and everything else, you need to send off, and I think the companies that do it are over in Europe, and spend a lot of money to have a set of insets made for those things, when most of us have glasses that do what we need. So this was my first set of goggles. They're big. They're not heavy, but they're big, and when you wear them, you look like you're wearing a refrigerator on your head. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. They worked good, and they were the only alternative I had, because of the fact that I wanted good goggles. And if you got to buy a pair of box goggles,
Those are the ones.
you'll agree, Carlos. I think these
sir.
are the ones, and a lot of guys are using these things. We got
Can I ask you a
Roscoe
question?
Bookbinder. I've got the FXT.
Yeah.
You still have to take your
I wanna know
glasses
why.
off.
That's the question.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, Roscoe, because I can hear.
And you fly yours without the bottom, right, Mitch?
No, I fly. It depends how bright it is outside, but this bottom piece here with the
Oh, you
rubber
leave it on. Oh, okay.
comes off.
I take it
and-
off. I never fly with
Yeah,
it.
and you don't. You can take that off, but this thing fits beautifully over my glasses. No
Yep.
problem.
So those are basically dinosaurs now that you have the other ones?
Well, now that I have the DJIs, these things just sit in their case. I took them out of the case tonight so that I could show them if anybody wanted to see them, but I haven't used these in quite a while. But they're nice to have. It's nice to have them as a backup.
Or to have
And
somebody
then-
fly along with you?
And then I got the DJI digital, but I still had to have the analog, and then I went ahead and did the analog mod on this,
Right.
and now I use this. This is half the size of those, and it does both digital and analog, and it's got the battery
And you
built
look
into it and
and
everything.
you look cooler. For sure.
I look like Ant-Man, but it does. But that's the thing the thing that I like about the DJI goggles is they do fit over my glasses perfectly, and they're no problem at all.
Good.
If not, and I hadn't tried them when I bought them. I knew I could return them if I couldn't use them, but I bought them, and They work great with my normal distance prescription, which is interesting because my goggles, my DJI white goggles, you know, the ones for the Mavic,
Right.
the ones that flip up,
Right.
those things are designed for my reading prescription.
Right.
I can't wear them with my regular glasses.
Me either.
I had to have a set of reading glasses made to use with those. So
Yeah.
I was tickled to see that these I could just use my normal regular distance.
Oh,
prescription.
really?
Yeah,
Huh.
this is just my norm. Yeah, these are focused
Why
differently
is
than
that
the other.
different? Why would it be different? I'm just
Well,
curious.
because they learned that it was much better to do what Fat Shark and those other guys do, and design these things for people for their normal distance prescription instead of.
Right. Huh.
That's my guess. That's my guess anyway.
Because I
I
use
am
my reading
surround-
glasses to fly with my FXT. Because I have reading and distance glasses.
You need to use your reading glasses for the FXT?
Yeah.
See, I can use my distance
No.
with the FXT, believe it or not.
I'm not as fortunate. I don't know. My eyes are shot after 45.
Mine aren't bad, but I got prism. I need prism correction. One of my eyes looks higher than the other.
Gotcha.
So if I put on a regular set of Fat Sharks, even with diopters in them to fix the focal length, I'll see two images, one directly on top of the other.
That's something.
Yeah. So when they say prism correction, if you look at the top of my glasses, you'll see one is thicker because it's bent down a little bit,
Oh, okay, okay.
and it acts like a prism and bends
Oh,
the
wow.
light when it comes in and makes it
Gotcha.
and lowers it down.
Huh.
It's
Wow.
not uncommon. Bill wants me to please explain the mod to the DJI goggles. Bill, let me see if I could find it here. If you go to my channel and
I have
go
the same
into
issue
the-
with Roscoe. Like Roscoe.
go into the playlist. In fact, I'm going to put the link to the video. I'm going to put the link to the video in the thing.
You
here.
did a video on the mod?
I did the whole mod in a video. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed that one.
How to's uploaded over the drone related fix with DJI series. Oops. View the playlist. Here, let me.
Hey, is it
Go
easier to
over
find the DJI goggles? I'm sorry.
DJI analog indoor whoop flying.
Mitch,
Here it is. What?
to bind the air mode to the transmitter, is it just as easy as the other ones, as the other quads for the DJI air
To
mode?
bind?
Yeah,
Oh, it's much easier. Yeah, you just push a button on
really?
the goggles. It starts beeping, and then you just push the button on the air unit or the transmitter, and it binds.
And the transmitter to the air unit, just push a button?
Yeah, you bind the transmitter to the air unit and the goggles to the air unit.
Wow.
Now that's assuming that you're using their transmitter,
Oh, wait.
because I don't use the DJI's transmitter. I use my jumper and I use my own receiver, so I'm not using that part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not using that part of it
got
at
you.
all. This video right here, not with the baby. That's a commercial.
I noticed your videos don't have any more ads. What happened?
No, they got them.
I didn't see them.
This is the Can you hear the music?
No.
Is there no music? Okay, I have no sound from this. That's okay. Just as well. I don't particularly need sound. I don't have any kind of virtual audio set up from the output of Chrome browser into, because that'll cause feedback and echoes. But this is a video that I did about the goggles, about the analog module, and the whole video goes into how I did it, how I 3D printed it, how I wired it, how I put it on the goggles, and the whole thing is right there. And the
Any
the link
soldering
to that.
involved?
What's that?
Any soldering involved?
There's always soldering involved.
There is, right?
There's a link to that video, Bill, and watch the video. And if you need any help with this thing, or you need, I print you up a faceplate or whatever you need, you just let me know, because it works great. It is such a pleasure, and that TBS Fusion module is, I think, one of the best there is. It's $100 something bucks, but wow, the image that I get. Here's some DVR at the end of this video of the DV. This is the DVR, Carlos, from the DJI goggles of me flying the Tiny Hawk around the house using this mod.
Oh, okay.
Look at that. Look at the video.
Oh, wow.
Look at the quality of that picture.
Right. Much better.
Isn't that something? That's 25 milliwatts from a Tiny Hawk flying around, recorded on the DJI goggles DVR, and that records at 60 frames a second too. But compared to what the recording looks like on the FXT, this thing is twice as good. It's absolutely
You don't
incredible.
have much breakup.
No, and that's because of the way that the TBS Fusion module works. It's not just diversity, it's actually reconstructive. It actually takes bits and pieces of each of the signals from its two antennas and reconstructs a frame. It doesn't just go with the best of the two. It takes something from both of the two and reconstructs it into a frame. It's really really something for analog.
Wow, look at that one. Did you fast forward it?
No, it's I whip around the house with that little thing.
Look at him go. That's good. I like the Tiny Hawk.
No, it's a lot of fun to fly, and this is how you learn. I mean, if anybody wants to know how do I learn to fly FPV, this is how you do it. I've been doing it for 10 months now, hundreds and hundreds. I've gone through. You know how many batteries I've wrecked from these little Tiny Hawks and thrown away?
Yeah,
that blew just puffed up until I just figure I don't want to keep them around the house anymore.
I did get a bunch of those 650 you were talking about.
Those are the best. Yeah, those are the best. And I threw away my last puffy little batteries yesterday. I just got so they don't last very.
You recycle them? Take them somewhere?
Actually, I drain them down to nothing. And they say, drain them down to nothing, throw them in a trash can.
Okay.
As long as you run all the power out of them. And if I have a bigger battery, a bigger LiPo, I built a little gizmo with a light bulb, like a halogen bulb from a car.
Okay.
And I plug it in and just let it sit until the light bulb goes off. Then after the light bulb goes off, I cut the leads on the battery, strip them, twist them together, short them together, and solder them.
Wow.
And then that battery's done. That battery's dead. And they tell you, throw it once it's dead, throw it away.
You ever heard anything about this salt water? They drop them in salt water or something?
Yeah, I've done that too.
Okay.
Done that too. Take a big tub of salt water, throw them in there, wait a week, let them come back after a week. They just discharge themselves. It's just a way of discharging them. Once a LiPo is discharged, it's not a fire hazard anymore.
Okay.
It can't burn
I
if
have a few I'm waiting.
there's no power. Yeah, it's
to
dead.
figure out how to dispose of them.
But the key is that you have to make sure it's dead, leads soldered together, dead.
Got it.
No, I had a whole bunch of batteries from my old RC days. They were old and all puffy and everything. One day I said, I had a choice. I could either take them to the Batteries Plus place, and say here, because they'll take these batteries off your hands, these battery companies, or I could discharge them. And I said, nah, I think I'll just discharge him. So I did. And after I got all done, all that work, I said I should have taken him to the battery place because it was a lot of work. Spank.
Hey, Mitch, do you live close to RDQ?
About an hour.
1 hour?
Yeah, about an
Just
hour.
for shits and giggles, I Google Map RDQ, and from my house, it says I can drive there in 17 hours.
Yeah. I've been there. I've been there.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been there.
I'm going to come to Florida. When I do, I'm going to come visit you. But
Yeah, we go over there. The place is not what you'd think. I mean, it's in a kind of a mini
a warehouse.
warehouse complex, but it's just as disorganized as hell in there. Maybe they got it cleaned up since I was there, but
wow.
Rick Albert says Spank's is peeking in the background. Yeah, something happened to when I rebooted everything. I screwed up my my sizing. See, it's all screwed up now. So some of my green screen is blocking off Spank back here, but he's back there in the corner behind that tripod. See him? See him looking around back there?
Are you going to bother with that little other tiny hawk or no?
The Tiny Hawk 2?
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting one of those, but then I fly this one, and I don't want to fly it outside. I figured. I'll tell you what I did get today. That finally came from Banggood. Are these new props? They're called Napals. Napal. They're from Foxeer.
Sounds Italian.
And they see the curve on them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't flown them yet. I just got them. They just came yesterday after waiting a month from Banggood. So I threw them on this GEP-5, the DJI drone. And hopefully tomorrow won't be, it was windy as hell today. Hopefully tomorrow I'll go out and fly them and see how they are. But the write-ups that the guys did were tremendous.
What were they, the angle on them?
They're scimitar shaped. See,
What
the blades are curved like boomerangs, and it's supposed to do something.
What is it? 50 what? 50 45, 50 46?
Well, yeah, they're 50 something or others. What's the size of them here? They only had one 5-inch size, so I got it.
There's an angle
It's-
of some sort, right?
Well, it's probably a 54, 4.5, 5, something like that. You know, standard for a 5-inch quad, whatever that is.
Let me see. They look similar.
They said it was smoother. They in the write-ups from the reviews of these guys that did try them said they seem to be a little smoother for freestyle or photography, which is. I had the Avon props on here, which had the really
They look similar.
wide roots, and that's similar. Yeah, that's a scimitar in it or something.
I would have to look at the package again.
Is that the same prop as this?
It's very similar.
It looks very similar. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna try that out. But it's half the fun of this sport is experimenting with all these. Although the Tater says he saw Spank back there building a drone. Yeah. Well, who do you think builds all these drones? Mark, it's it's my secret. Although he's lost in the background here tonight. Let's see if I can find him. Where are you? Where are you, Spank? There he is.
Look at that.
I'll bring him out into the open. He's blocking off a little of my sign, but that's okay.
Yeah, I
Y'all
mean,
know
cool. When I first saw that, I thought it was a real doll going back and forth. I wanted one. Definitely wanted one.
I'll tell you, it's amazing. Like I said, I could, Roscoe, we need to give you some blue jeans here before long, because you're the only white guy in the chat. So let's make you give you a blue wrench too. Welcome. And I have the same problem with my FXTs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, but there's really no way to set the date
I haven't bothered.
in the FXT to make the date on the SD card recordings.
I have not bothered. I'll look into that. actually.
Because as soon as it seems like, I think there might have been a place to try to set it. I mean, it was been a while since I tried it, but I think that as soon as you unpower it, take the power out of it, it loses it anyway. So I just know when I come back from flying, if I use that thing, I take the SD card, stick it in the computer, and
Now I'm
name them whatever I want to name them. You going to try yours there?
I'm just curious. Yeah. I guess
Yeah, I got my.
there are settings for the date
Are there settings?
that I'm aware of. No.
I don't think so. You push the button in once, and you get that main menu, and then I didn't see anything as far as setting the date goes. So I'm afraid that you're stuck. What's the one thing you own that everybody uses more than you do? Oh, here we go. Riddle time. Ed says there isn't a clock in the FXTs.
No. There isn't.
First thing after flying is rename the files and then copy them over to the computer for editing using the bird name, date, and which flight it was. You're absolutely right, Ed. That's the conclusion I think that we've come to here is that it doesn't. That's one nice. I'll tell you. It's one nice thing about things that DJI make. When I pull the SD card out of those DJI goggles, it's got the right date on it, and
No date.
even the prefix on the SD card tells me whether it was the SD card from the goggles or the SD card from the air unit. So I can tell.
I can rename. You can rename your SD cards.
Yeah, the card you can, but the actual name that it gives
file?
the files.
Got it.
Yeah, has one of them has a G in it and the other has something else in it. But you can tell which one came from the goggles and which one came from the air unit. The one that comes from the air unit it looks like a U. Yeah, DJI U08, and then the ones that come from the goggles will have a G in there. So how cool was that? I'm spoiled by DJI. Roscoe, I am too. I mean, I love flying the DJI drones, but the DJI FPV for me is where it's at. And you know, I put the link in there to the video that I did. We were just talking about the analog conversion for the DJI goggles, and that works famously. And now I'd sell the Vipers if I didn't want to have them as a backup. You know what I mean? Just and I just leave them.
You also have the other screen, right? Didn't you have another screen as well?
I have this deal here.
There you go. That's it.
Which is
Basically
set up on a tripod,
mm-hmm.
and makes a ground station. Especially when it's nice when I'm flying the FPV wings or airplanes, because what I'll do is when I take them off, I won't have the goggles on, but yet I'll have this thing set up out there, up high where I can stand near it and see it, and I can see if everything is telling me on the OSD that I've got enough satellites and what modes I'm in and everything else. And then when I'm flying, the other guys want to watch what I see in the goggles, so they can wander over to this thing. And this is the FXT one, and this is the same exact. I could take this is the same panel that's in the goggles, so it gives you a spare panel.
Yeah.
Even have a spare panel for your goggles, and that's another thing that I'd like to talk more about in here over the time. We got plenty of time. A lot of years coming up. We need a lot of stuff to talk about, but I'm really having a ball with these things.
Wow.
With these flying wings. And this one has got a flight controller in it. It's got the HD camera up in the nose, the RunCam 5, flight controller, GPS, runs iNav. It's got all the return to home stuff and the position hold and altitude hold, and you can cruise. it's got the VTX in it with the antenna there and GPS on it, and it is it's really a lot of fun. Has
This needs
auto
space.
launch too. You
That's the
just
only
take the
problem.
thing out and just give it a little toss, and it takes off by itself, and it flies up to altitude, and then starts circling around, and it'll just sit there and do that. And
Waiting for
after
command.
while it's doing that, you can leisurely put your goggles on, get ready to fly. When you're ready, you flick the switch, and you're flying away, and it's a lot of fun. I built some airplanes. Got a couple. I got another one I want to start building, and I don't know whether I'm going to do that online or not. But there's. I don't want to. You know how it is, Carlos. You want to have fun too. You don't want to live your life in front of the camera. You want to have fun without worrying about having to chronicle it.
You want to enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how most of my flying that I do is done for me, and not to make YouTube videos out of. I probably ought to make a few more YouTube videos, as especially on the flying wing stuff. But I'm new to the flying wings and fairly new to iNav, and I want to get it down a little more pat before I start showing it off. I think I put a video or two up so far with footage from the wings. But it's a great hobby, and there's
like
so
it.
much
So you're
to it.
spoiled only because, and the reason I say that is you were fortunate enough to be able to fly an airplane and experience that. So since I haven't had that, this is the closest thing to it. You know what I mean?
Then it's probably more thrilling for you
Right.
than it is
Exactly.
for me.
So
Yeah,
to speak,
yeah.
yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's
Because I have a client who's a pilot, and I tell him about my drones, but then I say, well, you're a pilot, so I mean, it's nothing to them because you guys are used to being up in the air and doing all this stuff.
yeah, but it's still
But it's still a whole lot of fun. I get it.
real flying just gets boring.
Mhm.
It's boring. You take off and you're up there. Just like
Basically
riding in the
driving
back
in
of an
the air.
airliner. It's boring.
you're
Nothing's
driving
going
in the air.
on. You're just cruising along. Most of the time, you got an autopilot. You can't go where you want because you're talking to the guy from air traffic control, and he's telling you what heading to fly, what altitude to be at, sometimes even what airspeed to be flying if you're mixed up in traffic. And to take off, you take off and climb up. That's okay. Descend and land, and most pilots will tell you that flying is long periods of boredom punctuated by short periods of extreme terror. And that's
Yikes.
yeah. And even when I was flying a lot, I enjoyed flying the model airplanes a hell of a lot more. Now, had I had FPV back then, that would have been. That's the only regret I have is that they didn't invent this thing 20 years before.
What's funny, Mitch, is I actually met a pilot, actual Spirit Airlines pilot, scared flying his RC airplane.
I've seen.
Intimidated because he didn't want to. He doesn't want to crash it. Yet he flies an airplane with people on it.
That was half. Oh man, that was half the fun with these guys. You get
kind of ironic.
big time friggin' pilots, big time pilots come out to our model airplane fly. I'm a pilot with Pan Am and all. That's just a toy airplane.
Right.
And then you see them get one of these things in their hands and crap their pants because
Not the same.
we had a big kick. We got a big kick out of that. Yeah, and that's the same thing that happens. What was really funny? I found a video today from that I put up last March, and it was titled because I wanted to see when did I actually start doing this FPV stuff. And last
April, May,
March. Last March, I put up a video, and it was titled "My First FPV Flight with Goggles." And
what was
I went out with my I had that Beta FPV 85X, the one that now lives with the fishes,
Gotcha.
and the FXT goggles, and my Free Sky radio, and I went to where the hell is it?
So you flew that before the M80 with goggles?
No, this was my first flight outside. You know, I actually
Okay.
took it out. I took it out to a park and actually, I was, acro mode,
And that was the
big time.
85, right? That didn't get
The
good,
85. Yeah, that never
good
flew. I didn't
reviews.
realize it, but that thing had a problem and never flew right. Every time I pulled the throttle back, it would fall out of the sky.
It was bobbing heavy.
And
Didn't get-
I didn't know enough
Mm.
to know that there was something wrong with it. But I went back and looked at this because I thought I was really coming along really well. Let's see if I can find it again. Where is it? I made a lot of videos, man. FPV weekend. What I learned after 1 week. There's a video in there. Okay. Tyro 99 first build. Yeah, these are about 10 months ago. So I've been at this for about 10 months now. But those old videos, when I look at that and the footage from the airplane, and I'm wondering if this is, I'm just gonna see if I can find this, if this is the one. Is this it? Yeah, this is it, I think. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. So here I am. I'm talking. I got the little 85X, and I'm wearing the FXT goggles, and
I don't even see the antennas on this.
I think I forgot to flip them up.
Gotcha.
I wasn't thinking, but
No, I'm
this
just
is,
looking for antennas.
but this is the.
85.
There's me down in the corner there. I'm behind the old guy thing, but it shows me sitting in a chair, and this is me. I'm all over the friggin' place. I was scared out of my mind. The thing kept going up to the stratosphere on me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And half the time, I didn't know where I was, even though I didn't even know which way I was pointed, and just started turning around to try to figure out, where am I? All the time afraid that I'm going to fly away somewhere, never get it back. And look at that, come down, bang into the ground, and then bounce back up again. And this was my first flight, really in acro mode with the goggles on. And it was a struggle. Look at this. I'm 200 feet in the air and then banging into the ground. Honest to
Gotta
God,
start
it
somewhere.
was,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah, it was a scary experience. And then I finally, and this is from a guy who can fly RC airplanes. So anybody
But
that,
it is much different, though.
oh man, especially with the goggles. Now, without the goggles, I could fly the thing no problem. But once to get used to those goggles for me might have been a lot harder. Maybe because I'm older, or maybe because I'm so set in my ways in flying RC airplanes. I'm used to looking at them to fly them, not being in them.
Rick Caliber asked, what is a good height to fly FPV drones? And I would say that depends on what you want to do.
Well,
For a cruise, I
think-
would say 50 to 100 feet, just cruising.
yeah, I like flying. Now here I finally got it down somewhere close to me, and what I said on the video was, I'll take it. Okay, and then I didn't know where it was. It was in the grass. I couldn't see it. So you watch it here. It jumps up. I looked around. I hit the throttle, and the thing jumped up. I said, "There you are."
That's how you found
And
it.
then I walked over and got it, and I actually flew it back. Now I'm flying it back just line of sight with the goggles up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I can do this. This I can do much easier than flying with the goggles on. Anyway, that was 10 months ago. Okay, so now um, this was this was a week ago.
That's the Acrobat, right? You did
Yeah, this is the Acrobat, but this is me flying
Acro.
a week ago. So big difference.
You've done good.
And I still have so far to go. I still have so far to go. But the level of confidence that I had, and we were talking about that the other night,
Hmm.
is that now I'm flying the drone. I'm not reacting to it. I'm it goes where I want it to go, I'm not, and I'm relaxed, and and now I'm having fun with it. But it took a while.
Do you have a problem going slow or fast? You don't have a problem.
No,
What I mean is
no,
controlling throttle control. You can go slow
no,
when you want. And
no.
fast.
Yeah, no problem. I can rip around or go real slow.
Gotcha.
See, like here, I'm just sped up a little bit.
Yep. And what kind of camera angle are you using? 40?
Probably about, I'd
25?
say a little less, no, closer to 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course I want to go slower. I want to
Okay.
go slower. I don't want to have to point the nose down. You can tell it's a shallow camera angle because when I do start to speed up, you see it a lot of ground.
Under the ground.
You know, you'll see this like,
Right there, that doesn't look so bad.
no, it's not
Mhm.
so bad. It's about 20-degree angle.
Hmm.
But see, this is the kind of stuff that to me is what I really want to be doing.
Hmm.
About 15, 10, 15 feet off the ground,
Oh yeah, I love it.
cruising, you know, following the roads around, stuff like that. And
I'm
with the
with you.
DJI, the nice thing about it is the radio, the signal is so strong, and the picture's so clear that even if you're down low and you're behind yourself and you're, you know, a couple thousand feet away, you're still right there. You're still right there.
Nice.
Anyway, it's a big, you know, it's an improvement, and you know, in another 10 months, there'll be a hopefully more of an
Power moving and
improvement.
flying backwards.
I hope we can all do it. So, let me see who's. Unfortunately, I'm so busy. I'm missing all the chat now, and I'm sure you guys are.
Well, I'm looking
I
at
tell you what I do, like
Awesome.
Ken Herron does. I rewatch every live stream that I do. I rewatch the whole thing and read the chats. So,
Oh, you really?
oh
Wow.
yeah, because I don't want to miss what the guys are saying. There's guys that say things to me and I miss it, and that's
I'll get myself in trouble like that.
it's not that it's being rude, but
No, you're busy.
sometimes you got all these buttons and you're talking and you're trying to
And
keep
you're on
up
a
with
train
your
of
people
thought, too.
in your chat and you know and everything the
Technically,
chat
no
goes
chat's
by
my
and you
job
miss
is
it.
to look at the chat. You're supposed to do your show, and I'm supposed to interject every now and then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where I'm supposed to help you. Multitasking. There we go.
Somebody said, "Howdy, Art. Is he back?"
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
I think Art went to
Metro Jones said, "Howdy,
bed. Yeah, better reception
I
with
know I
higher
don't look
usually.
like him.
You know, Ed, that's one of the things that
Wow.
really tickles me about that DJI system is that it doesn't matter. You could be 2 feet off the ground, 2,000 feet away, and you're going to get a crystal clear picture. It you really got to go low and behind stuff to start to lose. It is such a tremendous protocol that they're using to give you the image in those goggles that analog can't touch it, and it makes it so much more fun to do that flying, especially like in that park where you have no traffic and there's never anybody in there. You know, you can fly around that whole park down right on the deck.
That's great.
and,
That's the
and, and
thing.
nobody would ever even notice it.
And nobody
Carlos,
complains about noise.
how'd we do tonight, buddy?
I
It's
think you
10
did
o'clock.
good. I think
How'd we do?
I think if you get email, well, you said for an email, you left an email for people to leave questions for the next show, right?
Yeah, there's an email in the description of every one of my videos, and it's just
Okay.
oldguyinadrone@gmail.com. And
So hopefully they'll use that and they'll give you an idea of where to go next week for
well,
questions.
yeah,
Unless you
and
have
I
some-
don't know if I want this to become a Joshua Bardwell kind of thing, where
No,
there's
not totally.
six, 600 people in there, and he's just firing them questions one after another. Excuse me one second. Bob, thanks for coming. Bob Casey's got to go. We're all going to go here, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah.
But thanks for the support, and thanks for
Stopping by.
coming in here and stopping by. And I hope that this Sunday night thing might build up into something fun, and we'll figure out
I have an idea already.
a structure for it. That
I have a broken quad. I'll send to you and you can fix it online.
what a guy!
I'll
What a
send
guy!
you all the parts and
What a guy!
it's fun.
Well, I want to get into. There's so see that's the beautiful thing about this.
Because that's like,
This-
what do they call that? Troubleshooting.
Yeah.
It's another
The,
aspect
beauty,
of this whole
the
hobby.
beautiful thing about this type of live stream is we could do this for years and never talk about the same thing twice because it is that broad a field of a hobby.
Right.
Whereas when you're talking about when you're talking about Mavic 2s, there's only so much you can say.
Right.
You know, how many videos can you watch? There's just only so much you can say, you know.
Well, one point that Ed makes that's I think is true to a certain degree is you can be in the same spot flying FPV and make it look different because you can do different things in the same spot with an FPV quad.
Oh,
To a certain degree. You know what I mean?
there's so many aspects to it. You know, I've been going into the gym there on Thursday mornings and having fun flying around indoors. Now with iNav, with the
The
flying
biggest
wings
difference
and
is you're actually
airplanes.
flying the drone. You're not I mean, no offense to drone pilots that fly camera drones, but they're not really flying it the way you fly an FPV drone.
No, I said that in that video I made. I said that, or the introduction to this live stream. I basically said that I enjoy flying camera drones, but somehow it didn't satisfy my urge to fly.
Right.
And flying involves soaring and diving and turning yourself upside down and
But making it
That's-
happen too, though.
and hanging on to it, because if you let go of it, it gets away from you. That's
Time's
the
over.
difference. With a camera drone or a stabilized drone, you let go of it, it
Stand
sits
still.
there and wait. It sits there and waits for you.
And even that, you can have a heart attack and it'll still come back and land.
Yeah, yeah. When the battery gets low, it will.
Right?
Yeah, it will. So, of all tonight we covered. We
You just
come
out
back to me. Focus. Come on.
There you go.
We talked about a lot of things, a lot of different ways that this could go. Got a little taste of delving into some of the technical side of it. I don't want it to be boring, but on the other hand, what I think that we can do here is spend the time with somebody's problem or question that a lot of these bigger channels can't.
They don't have the time to stop.
They don't have, yeah, and especially when it comes to the beginner stuff that would bore most of the audience of people who've been doing this for a while.
Right.
You know, if you're in the 10th
It's
grade,
true.
you'd be bored sitting in a second grade classroom, and that's unfortunately some people and some of us still
Well,
need
they
the
Roscoe said
second
he
grade
knew-
information.
Roscoe said he was a noob, and I think we're all noobs here to a certain degree.
Yeah, I've only been. It took me a while to get up the guts to say that I would even do something like that, because I'm new at this myself, and I don't want people to say, who the hell does he think he is? He just started this shit. But I think I got a good enough handle on it to help You know, they say that you're an expert if you know just this much more than the other guy. You're the expert. So,
Yeah, which
as
says
long as,
it makes it more personal too.
yeah, I think that, and we, you know, I'm doing this as well for our group of guys.
Mhm.
You know, there's a group of guys here. Half of them are in Philadelphia today. Did you see Mikey's
No.
live stream this morning? Oh God, he had Rodney Bell and Dennis and Paul Drone Bum. They were all in Mike's house.
Oh, really?
Mike.
Oh, boy.
It was a free for all. Ron Lockwood was up there with him too. It was really really funny. It was really funny. So at any rate, guys, what'd you think of Carlos? What'd you think of my little opening? Was it too long?
No, it's all good. I'll be back. I think people.
No, you know what I'm talking about. I finally decided I needed an opening, and
Oh no, I like it.
yeah, it's not too long. Okay,
No,
okay.
not at all.
You missed
It's
the.
entertaining.
I had a whole shtick planned for it, but then with Mel not being not knowing when he was going to be done, I got myself I didn't know whether to start, whether not to start, or whatever. But I had this like 5-minute applause track. And I was going to sit there
Good for you, huh?
going like this.
Yeah, do like the presidential candidate.
And I didn't get to do it.
Next week. Only a few of us know what you were gonna do now.
Oh man. But the whole startup got screwed up. And it's not Mel's fault. Mel got screwed up at his start, what happened was I figured, well, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait till Mel says, "Hey, everybody, Mitch is gonna start his live stream. Why don't you go over there and blah blah blah." I was gonna toss him a link. Maybe he could put the link up, make it easy. And then I had my timer set for 5 minutes. I was gonna go live and I have a 5-minute countdown once Mel was done. Okay, but Mel wasn't done. And all of a sudden, I start to see people waiting. It said 2 waiting, 3 waiting, 5 waiting. Then I had 10 waiting. And I said, well, when the hell is Mel going to get done? These people are going to go away. You know, it said it was going to start at 8 o'clock. So then I said, that's when I hit the go live button. But
Hey, Mitch, was it rude of me on, what's his name? Is it Ready, Set, Drone? Kelly? Is it Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly.
Ready,
Yeah.
Set, Drone, right? He was
Yeah.
doing his show yesterday, and I plugged his show about beta flight, and then not 2 or 3 minutes later, he says he's going to show you how to do it on beta flight. I said, uh-oh, did I just put my foot
Nah,
that at
no.
all? Or no?
I don't know. Look, Kelly doesn't know me.
Oh, okay.
He knows, he's heard of me. I mean, he's heard
Okay.
my name, but he doesn't know anything about me. He's never come to my thing. It's like Ken Hearn. Ken Hearn knows who I am.
Right.
I've been on his show twice, but I doubt if he knows my name is Mitch or cares or.
Okay, good. I plugged your
or
show
anything.
anyway, and then like 2 minutes
Yeah.
later, he's talking about how he's going to show you how to set up the stuff on beta flight. The other guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Rick, I didn't want to keep people waiting 15 minutes after that.
8:05 is a good start.
Well,
If it's not 8.
when you create a stream and schedule it, it sticks that time there, and
Yeah.
it says, scheduled for 8 o'clock. Well, when you're not there at 8 o'clock in some form or fashion, people will start to wonder what happened. Where's the show? And they'll go somewhere else. And I didn't want that to happen. So I started it at 8 o'clock. I actually hit the button to go live. Normally what I do with my streams is I go live about 7 or 8 minutes before the scheduled time so that I can have the countdown on my time, not your time. That's basically what I do. So if I say I'm going to start at 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock on the money, my face is in the camera,
Got
and
it.
I'm talking. Most of the other guys who do a countdown start their countdown at the time they say the
Show
thing is
start.
scheduled, you know,
Right.
which is what I did tonight. But I value, you know, I have respect for people and their time, and when
what
I
I
say
was
a certain time, I mean it. I mean it. Drone Strike LLC, how you doing? You got here just in time for us to
Say goodbye.
say goodbye, just about. Bit over 2 hours.
Little
I
over.
didn't know whether this was going to be a 1 or a 2 hour deal, but it'll probably go for 2 hours. I would imagine,
Sounds good.
because by the time you get started and get everything set up, it seems to always end up at 2 hours. I can't go too much more than that because I only get 20 hours a month of streaming for free from StreamYard.
And then what do they
uh,
charge? By the hour?
Oh, they charge. No, they charge. It's a couple $250 a year. It's ridiculous. I mean, if it was $100 a year, I'd pay it. But
$20 a month.
$20, 25 bucks a month. $20 a month if you pay it annually. So that's
Got
$240. And they give you 20 hours. So I can do two 2-hour live streams a week and squeak under the limit. Now, I don't need StreamYard. I can stream directly out of OBS.
Mm.
But I wouldn't have the StreamYard features of bringing in panels. I'd have to use Skype, and you know what kind of problems everybody has with that
No,
nonsense. So
Ruling Drone TV uses Skype, or has in the past. Really know
yeah,
it?
I can do it. I can do it. So if I do push StreamYard to the limit, I'll come on and just stream directly out of OBS. I'm using the OBS for what shows up in my part of it in my window anyway. So
Right.
all I need to do is just stream directly from it. So that's it, guys. Listen, whoever's left, we got 10 people left. Drone Strike, Rick Halber, Roscoe. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Bob Casey, if you're still here, thanks so much for showing up and helping out here. Love My
Mike
Drones, Ed, thank you very much. And Mike, if you're still around, Mike Roche, thanks for coming in. Tater said good night earlier. I think everybody's got to go to work tomorrow, but I think it worked out.
Well, did good.
Drone pool. How you doing? When did you get here?
I think he's been here a while.
I didn't. Sorry, I missed you.
Maybe that's some of
All right, guys.
All right, Rick.
So,
Rick, Mitch,
Mitch,
good night.
yeah. Hey, thanks for coming in, Carlos. Appreciate the company, and everybody think up some questions for next time, and we'll see if we can.
Yeah, no, we already talked about that. The SPI. Those.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Take care.
All right, buddy.
Be well.
Take care. Bye. All right, that just leaves me and the monkey as usual, and thanks for showing up. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Had a good time. May have been a little confused at times, but we'll settle into something that is a little more relaxing. And I'll look forward to seeing you Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern time on my regular Thursday night show. And until then, I know it's late, but you can take the rest of the day off, guys. Go play with your drones and have a great evening. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.